Hello, Brick Sculptors. Welcome back to Brick Sculpt. This is Chris, and today we're going to talk about the solutions for the first ever Brick Sculpt Tech Challenge. But before I do that, I want to talk about this challenge. This was so awesome. I knew this was going to be a hit, but I didn't know it was going to be this big. The amount of people that put in entries and got all these amazing creative ideas, and the participation was just unreal. So it goes without saying, the tech challenges are not going anywhere. We will be doing more of these in the future. It was obviously very popular and very useful, not only for you guys, but for myself as well. I definitely learned a thing or two in making this video, and I want to share some of that with you. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, go ahead and watch the video I link here. That's going to describe this challenge and show you the rules. And that's definitely important to watch that before you watch this, because it's not going to make a lot of sense. Okay, so when I left off, I left you with this solution here that was nothing special because it juts way out the back. But shortly after making that video, I quickly came up with another solution that is a little more seamless, and I'm going to share that with you now. The solution I came up with, I basically take that portion out. I'm also going to adjust what I have down here, but I decided to go with a bracket approach. So I started with one of these brackets with a 1x1 with 2 high bracket, and I combined this with a 1x1 SNOT brick. There we go. And then I filled in the gap on top by using a brick and a tile like that. And then underneath, we put our SNOT piece inverted and a tile. And then we can stick this upside down. I have to adjust the bottom here. I have to take one layer off. I believe it's one layer. And stick it in there. And now I can rebuild my wall around that. And we have a completely flat, seamless front and back. That was the solution that I thought was the simplest and easiest that I came up with. Now, many people submitted this same solution, which is awesome. Great minds think alike. But I got so many amazing solutions, and I really wanted to recreate all of them, but it wasn't going to happen because there were just so many. So I picked some of the most creative, some of the best. I left out some of the real obscure stuff, but I have to say, you guys ran with this. I got some crazy solutions out of this, and I absolutely love that. I did have one person comment and say, you guys are overthinking this. Just so you all know, the whole point of this is to overthink it. That's why we're doing this challenge, because as we know, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Also, I don't know why people are skinning cats, but that's how the expression goes. So there are many solutions. I wanted to put names on all of these, but there were so many duplicates and there were so many submissions. I decided, okay, we're going to leave names out. If you want to see even more solutions than this, get to the Discord server. It's fabulous to see all the creative work you guys did there. But these I thought were some of the more useful ones that use more common parts. And so I'm going to share quite a few of them here with you. Now, before I dive into these, I do want to mention my solution can also be done using one of these Technic pieces, and the hanging down bracket will give you kind of the same thing, just with different alternate pieces. So let's dive into some of these here. Also, the colors are pretty crazy. That's done for a few reasons. One, I want you to be able to see the part differentiation. Number two, this took a lot of different random parts, so I kind of went through all my bins and just had random stuff. Some of these parts were kind of hard to find because I might only own a couple of them, and I had to find the right color. Okay, I'm going to start with the bracket solutions. This one here is quite similar to mine, but they kind of took it one step further here. It doesn't have any SNOT side attachments. It just connects on the top. And the reason the second bracket is here is when you do it this way, you have to have a SNOT brick right here facing down, which means that stud hangs over into the next section. So you will have to have a little bit larger cutout there for your solution, but I think it's an awesome solution nonetheless. Sorry, Rick. Okay, another amazing bracket solution here. I really love this one because it's very minimalist. We have 2 SNOT connections on the side, and then 2 of these smaller 1x1 up-facing brackets, one plate and 2 tiles in the middle, and those are just going to face downward here. Most of these solutions use the same method of just putting tile on the bottom of the SNOT brick and flipping it over. I do have several solutions that also use a jumper plate, which I think is super creative, just a standard jumper and making that flush with the front. I'm going to show you plenty of those as well. I also have some cool solutions here on how to lock the bottom. We'll get there though, hang tight, because that is one thing most solutions, mine included, just left the bottom loose and making kind of a weak connection. So I do have a few fixes for that thanks to you guys. This I thought was one of the more interesting bracket solutions I saw. It's definitely a lot, very parts intensive, but the reason I like it is you're fully surrounding the jumper here in the middle. And now that I do this, I realize I think I used the wrong brackets in here. These should be down facing. Well, maybe not, because then they wouldn't connect to this. Maybe one up, one down. But anyway, we have brackets on the side, brackets over here, plate in the middle, tiles underneath these. Really creative solution there, and it makes for a really cool pattern, actually. I should mention, why am I showing you all of these? Well, even though we have so many solutions, there is definitely applications where some of these are going to be more handy than others. So having more solutions is always better because you never know what the application is going to be. Okay, another really common one I got was locking the piece in place with Technic pins. I thought that was really creative. It does give it a little bit of wiggle, but it is locked in place. I think if you combine this method with a locked bottom, I think that would be even better. But that is one way to do it, and it is flush on the front and the back. This is another locking method where you take an arch piece, 2x2 plate in there. It does also have some wiggle, but I thought that was really creative, and it uses just a traditional jumper, which is really cool. You know, so a lot of times, a lot of these pieces are very specific, and you might not have it, or you might not have it in the right color. So lots of different solutions could be helpful there if you're on limited parts that you're working with. This was a very similar one, but it's not just locked. This actually used this Technic axle brick with one of these 1x1 round plates with a bar on it and just stuck it right on the side. You could probably find a way to put two of these on there, but this L piece does connect the top and the bottom here. So I'm sure there's a different way to do that. I thought that was a pretty clever solution. It is not flush on the back, but flush on the front. Now this method I thought was super cool. I actually didn't lock the top on this, and I actually left it that way on purpose. You could put two axle pins in there like I showed you on this one. But the cool thing about this is it's locked just by these bottom tiles. This was super creative. I would have never thought of this on my own. But check this out. They use these newer angled tiles on both sides, and it just locked it in place perfectly. And I wanted to leave the pins out to show that without the pins, it will hold in there with just that method. You know, these two are obviously inverted. Those two are right side up. And I mean, just that alone will keep that brick in there. Super minimalist, super clean, super creative. All right, what else do we have? Very common solution for this was the Headlight brick. I just did a whole video on the Headlight brick. Love the Headlight brick, and it is a great workaround for this. Some of the Headlight brick ones were a little more complicated, like this one here uses 4 Headlight bricks. This is nice because it gives you lots of connections, and you can connect kind of on both sides. So this last Headlight brick goes into a Technic brick. So it's fully locked across the top, and definitely gives you a really nice sturdy connection there. This one here is quite similar, except the side just has a filler in there. The reason it has a filler brick in here is because that last Headlight brick is going to have a stud on it, so you can't just have it sticking to nothing. So here we have a whole series of parts just to fill in that spot, but very similar solution right there. This one I think is probably maybe the best and simplest of the Headlight bricks. You just have two of them, one up, one over, and then a 1x1 plate facing downward. It is not going to be the strongest because it's only connected by one stud there, but very minimalist, very similar to the solution that I came up with the bracket, but except using Headlight bricks. This one I thought was super creative, a little overkill, but again, there's probably a great application for this. And this actually uses 8 headlight bricks. You got 2 of them on top, 2 on bottom, and then on the sides. You would still have to fill out the sides here and get rid of these studs. Well, depending on the application, maybe you wouldn't have to. But that I thought was incredibly creative how they came up with that there. Totally flush on the front and back, locked from the sides, not the top and bottom. Super creative. All right, we have a lot of other SNOT connections. This one here uses the infamous D-SNOT piece, and that's going to be paired with our Technic brick. And then you do put a plate on top there, and you can invert that brick just like that. Great solution there. It does leave some little indents, but again, those could be decorative. You could use those for other things, or maybe they're covered and it doesn't matter. And this next solution here is quite simple, but the person who submitted this did something on the bottom that I didn't see anyone else do, and this is my favorite lock I've seen so far. So what they did up top here, we just have a Technic brick into a SNOT piece across the top. Nothing too crazy there, very similar to my solution with the bracket, but except using a SNOT piece. But on the bottom, look at that, 2 cheese slopes in alternating directions, 2 cheese slopes in alternating directions, and they just go together like teeth, which means that you have the top locked and that bottom is incredibly strong there. If you combine this with some of these other ones that are locked all the way across the top, that brick isn't going anywhere. It'll be locked in there stronger than some of these. So I thought that was incredibly creative. So nice job there on that one. I did get some solutions that were just a single brick in the middle. They weren't using this SNOT jumper. They weren't using a typical jumper. They were using a 1 wide brick, which is pretty cool. This one here is super simple, does leave gaps, but again, depending on the application, this could work perfect for you. You've just got 2 jumper plates and a D-SNOT piece. Gets it right in the middle, takes the place of a typical SNOT brick or jumper. Pretty cool. This one was also super minimalist here. They just took a bracket, turned it on its side. It's only attached on the top, but if you're working with a really small space, that might be the solution you need. And then I also got this one, which at first I was like, holy cow, how'd they do that? They got a D-SNOT here, fully bricked in on the front. This piece here is the secret. These black pieces here are actually hinge pieces. When you take the top off the hinge, it lowers it in stack height by 2 LDU. Is that right? Yeah, I think it's 2 LDU, which gives it just enough room to fill in on the sides there. The rest of this is pretty straightforward. You got SNOT pieces here holding them in place, and that just sits on a jumper in the middle. Really creative. Not totally filled, but on the front side it is, and great way to utilize a D-SNOT as opposed to a typical SNOT jumper. All right, I also got a lot of bar connection pieces, and I thought that was a super cool idea. This one is super minimalist. No attachment on the bottom, and the top is just 2 1x1 rounds with a bar going through it, making them face in opposite directions. You can use a shorter bar if you want, but I think the longer actually works better if you have a brick on top. And that flips over that brick. Great solution. A little bit more seamless. This was a very common entry. I got a lot of these where they used the newer 2/3 bricks because they have open studs. So you can do a stud reversal with those. A completely seamless stud reversal, front and back. Very good solution there. I'm a little jealous I didn't think of that one first. That's okay. That's why I have you guys. All right. This one I thought was cool. This uses these bar pieces here and just a typical hinge, but I like it because it uses just a standard jumper plate. Again, depending on the application, this could be what you need. Obviously, you got some stuff to fill in there or cover up, but hey, who knows? That could come in handy in your build. And this one I didn't think of, but I really do like the idea of using these rounded 1x2 plates. And again, it's because they have open studs. So we can do a nice little stud reversal there on the bottom using those bar pieces to invert that SNOT brick there. And it locks in very nicely here with those plates across the top. And we just put a brick on there. Again, doesn't make it for a totally flush wall, but very creative part usage there. That is one of my favorite pieces to use. Okay, now I did get a lot of solutions that require these kind of T-brackets. Unfortunately, I couldn't build any of them. I'll show you some pictures here, but that's because I don't own this piece. So I will have to buy this piece because this piece looks amazing. But anyway, here's some pictures of those to show different things you can do with the T-brackets. Luca Herman showed a whole bunch of different ways to use it, though. So thank you, Luca. But that's a great solution as well, and definitely something I have to invest in. All right, last but not least, I want to show you a couple of really creative builds that use retired pieces, because I always love pulling out the old stuff for this. The first one I got a few submissions of was the classic hinge stud reversal. So we take that finger hinge, flip-flop it there, and we can flip that brick over, no problem. Great solution, really low profile, works perfectly. Unfortunately, they don't make that part anymore, but that's okay. When I saw this one, I instantly jumped down, rifled through my bins, and tried to find this piece. And I went through almost every color of bulk bin I have. I found one of this piece. But this is such a cool solution. This is this old Technic toothed piece here. I thought I had more of these, but I haven't used this piece. I kind of forgot this existed, to be honest. But I did find one in yellow. I was sure I had it in old school gray, but I couldn't find any. Found the long version, but not the 4 long version. But that is an amazing stud reversal. I never would have thought of using this for a stud reversal. So I was super excited. I probably spent 20 minutes trying to find that part, but I was not stopping until I found it, because that solution, that's amazing. Even if it's not totally flush, I don't care. Anytime you use a cool old retired part like that, I'm game. All right, this is not a great solution, but I wanted to share it. Well, maybe it is. I wanted to share it because I didn't know this. I didn't realize that a 2x3 plate fits perfectly into one of these old-fashioned panels. Now, you could lock this in on the sides. You could try to find a way to lock the top or bottom. It's going to slide around like crazy. That's why I say it's not the greatest solution, but I learned something, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. All right, now one of my initial ideas when I first started taking this on for myself was this solution. And I didn't actually come up with it. This was from a fan because I found this and liked it better. But this does use a retired piece. So we have a traditional jumper here, completely flush, front and back. Lots going on. We have headlight bricks here. We have plates. We have tiles. But the secret sauce here is the old-fashioned this piece here. Now, why is that old? It's the skinny version. All the new ones are fatter in the middle, so these are going to sit further up. But on the skinny ones, I believe it's a 4 LDU width. So if we combine 4 LDU, 8 LDU, and 8 LDU, we get the 20 LDU to make up a 1 brick width, just like that. Super creative. They hang down from the top here. Now, I'll be honest, when I thought of making this solution in my head, my natural go-to was to hang it off the sides, and I think the solution's way better. We did have an entry to hang them off the sides, and I did build it, but it's much more complicated, and the secret sauce is this piece right here, and that is these panel pieces on 3 sides. And this is not fully locked. You could probably find a way to fully lock it. Put those cheese slopes in the bottom. That would lock it. But this uses brackets. It does use those old school pieces here. And then the studs stick into these 3-sided panels to hold that in place. Super cool solution. And probably what I would end up getting to or close to if I were to pursue this option. But I think this one is a lot cleaner if you're using those old school parts. But I like anytime you can take that traditional jumper and get it in a wall, I think that's kind of next level right there. All right. I love this solution. Just super creative. It's basically from the front, all flush. But these pieces here are the secret. They're covering up some secrets in there. And you're probably wondering, what is the retired part? It's actually these clips. Now, you might be saying those clips aren't retired. But yes, they are, because there's 2 versions, just like you saw with those last pieces. The old ones are skinny. And I first tried this solution. I did it with the newer clips. They're too wide, and then they hit these panel pieces, pushing them out, making it an illegal build. But if you use the old-fashioned ones, they fit perfectly. And I love how these panel pieces just kind of act as covers. and cover up all the ugliness there that connects it from the other side. So I thought that was a really creative solution there. I did get a solution that I absolutely loved, just like this, and I tried it, but it ended up being illegal. And that was this one here. You can see this panel sticks out, and that was this bar piece. And I was like, oh, that's so creative. I love it. I built it, and I was like, no, it sticks out just a little bit. It's technically an illegal connection, but creative nonetheless. So well done. So as you can see here, lots of different solutions, so much great work from all you guys. Again, I was going to mention a lot of names, but so many people contributed, so many people had duplicate entries that we're just going to say as a community, we all won. I mean, because the idea for this was not to get the perfect solution, because obviously there is no perfect solution. The idea for this was to inspire creativity, challenge yourselves, stretch your mind a little bit, and give you some new insight for when you're going forward building your mocks and creations. So hopefully we gained that. Like I said before, this was super popular, and this 100% will not be the last Brick Sculpt Tech Challenge. I'm thinking I'm going to be doing these once a month now because this was really insightful and fun. Well, I hope you guys like this video. If you like this kind of video, please like and subscribe. I do more just like this in the future. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I'll do my best to answer them. That's all I have for this time, and we will see you next time.